being creative in the United Kingdom. That's music, film, fashion, design, architecture. Now he makes more money for UK PLC than all of the pensions industry, all of the insurance industry, all of the construction industry, twice as much as the pharmaceutical industries. And maybe that's why government decided to change the national curriculum, because let's face it, copyright is going to play a much, much bigger part in our future than at any point in the past.
The Key Stage 3 music curriculum now requires students to be taught about the importance of artistic and intellectual property rights.
Okay, could I have a show of hands of everybody who downloads music? Okay, could you leave your hands up if you download music and you pay for it?
These students are not in the minority. Many studies suggest that around 90% of 14 to 17-year-olds copy music illegally. But recent additions to the Key Stage 3 music curriculum aim to change this attitude. At Monk's Walk School in Hertfordshire, local musicians and songwriters like Tim Jennings are invited to speak to students about the direct impact that illegal downloading has on them.
For a lot of people, you think, oh, all these rich rock stars and all the rest of it, why do they need all that money? It's fine downloading this stuff for free. Well, most people who are making a living out of music, probably it's just part of what they do, and they probably only make an average of about £5,000 or £6,000 a year. So they need paying for that work. And again, it's if it was your songs that were on the internet, I'm sure you'd want paying for it.
In music departments, it's very easy for us to become quite isolated in what we're doing. So the students will turn up to see us once per week, work on their own music, and really not associate that with the music they're listening to or the sort of media and culture that they're engaged in outside of school.
Musicians like Thomas Green work with students on developing their music, highlighting the issues surrounding copyright infringement.
We are, at the moment, writing an album, and when we do it, we're going to be selling it. And if people download it illegally, there's two ways of looking at it. There's the exposure it's getting you. You know, if a million people downloaded our album illegally, I wouldn't have a problem with it, really, because it's going to get us there. But eventually, it's going to get to the point where if everyone's downloading it, you're not going to be making any money off of it. And that's what causes music to stop.
I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But there's that... almost a culture now that everyone downloads it.
Of course.
And when you can get something free, why would you want to pay for it?
So how does knowing about the bigger picture, does that make you think more about it?
It would definitely change my view next time I go to download a song. Sort of try and think of what the artist and everyone else what effect it's gonna have on them before I do it.
So part of the approach at Monk's Walk, as well as getting them to write their own music and copyright it, is to try and bring in people from outside the classroom who've actually been through the experience so that students can hear firsthand the consequences, perhaps, of some of the copyright issues we're discussing.
How has this changed your attitude?
I can see where they're coming from with how they don't want people to download it. If they've created the song and then they want to at least get people to know that they've written the song, but then download it off the internet is just... it's kind of just throwing it back in their face.
What if I just thought, do you know, I really liked what Sam was doing, do you know, I'm actually going to nick that and I'm going to make a bomb out of that. How would you feel?
I'd be pretty annoyed if you made quite a bit on that.
With the issue of teaching the copyright and the music industry sections, it's really important to keep that hands-on approach that really motivates the students.
5, 6, 7, 8.
To then take them out of that context and perhaps to teach a one-off lesson, then I feel really interrupts that flow of motivation. So that was the reason really behind trying to think more creatively about how to make it relevant and also to tie things in together. And we always find the students are much more receptive if they can relate it to their practical experience.
What was that riff that we were working on last week?
In planning for lessons with copyright and music industry, I found that it has taken time. There's a wealth of information out there on the internet, But trying to filter through that and actually get to the main points has been quite difficult. There really isn't that much that states in black and white really what the issues are and how to do it.
But in spite of the complexities of the topic, there are specific online resources available.
But we're going to listen to a rap song written by a hip-hop artist called Sway. One of the lines from this track says, "If my fans never had a Mac or a PC, I would have a Jag." The Sound Rights resource is a free resource. It's accessible 24 hours a day. It's great for setting students' homework tasks to do. It has downloadable things and interactive activities for them, which is fantastic. Any thoughts about what that person is trying to say through his song about downloading, uploading music? Sam?
People are stealing his money and his song and all his ideas, and then the DJs get it and they change it, and they haven't paid for copyright.
As well as getting students to appreciate the creative importance of copyright, another aspect of the curriculum is based on understanding who it protects within the music industry. At Harrogate Grammar School, students receive a series of lessons on who is involved in making music and how downloading affects them.
We're going to listen to something. OK, this is a song that's been written by 2 members of our class.
To add impact to her Year 9 lesson, Head of Music Emily Siegel bases it around the music of a band formed by the class called Missing Link.
What we're looking at today is we're going to explore the journey of this song from its composition to the #1 slot. And how do they protect this song so that they make the millions out of it? When copyright came into the Key Stage 3 curriculum, first of all, I think a lot of teachers just thought, I'm not going there. I know I've got to, but I'm going to avoid going to there. The profession of music, it is a business, and we do have to look at it as a business, and we have to educate our students. I would like a lot of my students to go into music. They need to know about the business. They need to understand it, or they're going to suffer. And I think it's an absolute responsibility for teachers to actually address that.
To help their understanding, students are asked to define the role of various jobs within the music industry.
A music licensor could be someone that licenses the music for use somewhere else. Like, so someone else could use it, like if they were doing a film.
I have no idea what a song plugger is.
I thought a song plugger was like...
Right, song plugger. To get to #1, where are we going to have to be hearing that song?
On the radio.
Yeah, specifically on things like the Radio 1 playlist. The song plugger will literally go and plug the song. So quite powerful, because if the song's not getting out there and not being heard, it's not going to get to #1, OK? I think when you say to your Key Stage 3 classes, today we are going to be looking at copyright, you can be guaranteed a fair number of them to turn around and say, oh, miss, this is so boring. And it can be very dry. And there is a fear when you're teaching it, how do I make it not boring? I think you've got to make it personal. You've got to see how it relates to them. And if it doesn't relate to them, how might it relate to people that they know? So in this class, it was easy. I had 2 songwriters in the class to make it always about them. Who owns the copyright in the band? In your band, you've got Max, you 2, Jake. Who owns the copyright to do this, do that?
I wrote a song at the start.
Yeah.
So I came up with the whole idea.
But I wrote the verse and I wrote the bass part.
Did Jake not do anything?
60-40.
60. But Jake came up with the riff.
Yeah, but we came out with the ground basics for the whole song. Without us, there wouldn't be do this, do that.
And without the riff, it wouldn't be the #1 it is.
Yeah, it would.
We would have made up a different.
Are you sure about that? They won't understand the illegal downloading implications if they don't understand the impact that has, that copyright is there to protect and who it's protecting. Otherwise, why shouldn't they illegally download? And it's only when they see that their choices have an implication that it will have any meaning to them at all. Do this, do that belongs to Missing Link as soon as it comes out of their heads into some kind of recorded form. Everyone in the class has kind of owned that they know people who are illegally downloading their track, and therefore they're not getting any money out of it. And probably the record company at the end of the year, if they're lucky enough to have been signed at all, will end their contract because they're not making any money. How do you feel about that?
I'm not happy. Because you work hard to make a song and everything, and people just download it for free.
I thought they just got the money whenever it was played. I didn't realise that if you get it off the internet, they don't get any money for it and things like that.
And everyone does that, but then no one's getting any money from it. And so it's made me like a lot more aware about things like that.
My friends, if they're illegally downloading tracks that we've done, I would say to them, can you stop? Because it's affecting us in a way that we're not getting anything out of what we're doing.
So how do budding musicians protect their work from being illegally downloaded? In Year 8, students imagine they're in a band, looking for a #1 hit.
In your band, you've got a lot of really talented members. What are you going to do to get your music out there to the general public?
Well, what if they record it and then send it around to people and see what they think?
Well, first you could perform in front of a few people to see if you're good or not.
I'm really interested to see what you've come up with now. This could be a list, a very generic list of what you would do in this situation.
Probably recording it and then sending it to a radio station or something.
Essentially, the naivety is really obvious once you get them to start listing all the different things that they would do, and I'd send it to this brand or whatever, and they could, and then if they want to use it for their advertising, they'd love it, and they'd send me a cheque for £1,000, and the naivety is there. I'm going to go into the downside of this now. So pretend that I'm running a record company. I've got a band just like yours, but to be honest, they're not that good at writing songs. But your band's just sent my record company a copy of your song, and your song's brilliant. So am I going to sack them? What's going to happen? Vanessa?
Couldn't the record company take the song and then give it to the other band?
Exactly. You don't want to dampen their enthusiasm for these things, but at the same time it is the real world out there, and it's quite important that they understand how these things work. So what can you do to stop them from doing that? Does anyone know? There's something out there that exists. When you see copyright on the curriculum, I think you see a problem there. For me, I did. I just thought, oh, well, hang on a minute, I'm not a business studies teacher. Copyright, what's that about? I've never, ever taught it before. It's new to the curriculum, and my thoughts were on, well, how exactly am I going to deliver that in a way that's going to engage learners? If you can make the lesson more about the pupil's experience, so let's put them in that hypothetical situation, and it's quite surprising for them how interesting it is that they'd never actually thought the consequences of a lot of the things that they would do through to the end conclusion. So bearing in mind everything that we've talked about today, I want you to kind of repeat that activity. You've got a song, it's fantastic, it's time to get exposure, so what are you going to do?
I wouldn't send it to a record company if it gets stolen.
But you could do that thing Mr. Crosby's talked about. Where you send the CD off with all the dates and stuff and send it back to yourself.
Thinking about illegal file-sharing websites, put your hand up if you think you're less likely to use one of those file-sharing sites in order to download music. Put your hand up if that would apply. Put your hand up if you still think you're just as likely and it's not really made much of a difference. Good, so hopefully there's been a little bit of an impact there. That's fantastic.